So we're back to the last part here, which is part 4, the stabilizing rod. And if we look at the drawing, again, we want to take a little time to think about which approach we're going to take to modeling this. And the simplest approach is to do a sweep or extrude along a path, as we might call it. I have seen somebody try and extrude this and do it with fillets. That's not a very clever way of doing it. The hint to the fact that it's going to be a sweep along a path is that the whole component has the same cross section, so it's a circular cross section, and we can see from the plan here that at all points it has the same 6 millimeter diameter. We can see that again in the end elevation. We can see that here. So we know that it's the same cross section all the way along, and we also have a path, like a center line, that's been given to us along the center of it, and that's usually a clue because they give dimensions to you for the actual path. Like we see the radius 5 here is for the path, not for the outside edges here. So that's almost always a clue that it's going to be a sweep along a path. So again, we will just draw the sketch out. It's pretty straightforward. We just need to draw this line here as our path, and then on the end of that, draw a circle and do our sweep. So we'll start our sketch. And we're going to use this plane here because it's going to align with kind of the face of the front of the object. And I'm not going to get too precious about aligning it with the center axis or the center point here because it doesn't need any mirrors to be done. We really just want to draw this profile out, or sorry, I should say draw the path out. But if you wanted to, you could position it 20 from the center and then it'll be nice and symmetrical. Do that. So we'll do our first line going down. And this line here has to be 50. So let's go down 50. And then we're going to go horizontally. I'll just zoom out a wee bit so we get a better view of what we're doing. Okay. So we're going to go out to the side. And distance to the side here, well, it's 140 to the center. And 40 of that here is like from there to there. So from the center, it's 20 to that point. So if we half that, that's going to give us 70. When we take that 20 off, that means that this bit here is going to be 50 as well. Okay, so it's going to be 50 from there out to that point, which it actually says here. So that was a bit kind of dumb of me not to notice. But anyway, 50 going to the side here. And then looking at this again, 40 from there down. Now, let's just double check that we get this in the right place. Yeah, it's 40 down there. And then 140 from one side to the other. And then we're just going to repeat the same, go back up. We can actually just use the trace lines to copy that vertical dimension and go 50. And then go up 50 as well. And if we wanted to be sure that everything was just right, we could add a dimension there just to make sure that doesn't accidentally get changed. And we could check the dimension across here is 40, and it is. So we know that that matches everything in the drawing. We just need to do the fillets here for the corners. So it appears that all of those corners are radius 5. So we'll use the fillet tool, set that to 5, choose each of these corners. To work there. There we go. So that's all the fillets added. You can finish your sketch. Now, well, actually, what I'll do just to do it right, we'll add a wee dimension from here to here of 20. Just keeping things tidy. It's dead center. So now that we've done that, we can start our sketch for a circle on the end of this. And although you could actually just use the origin plane that aligns with that because of the position where we started it, and that's something you should always think about when you're doing a profile and a path for a sweep. It's not actually hugely important because there's a really handy tool in the planes option here, which is this one here called normal to curve at point. So anytime you're doing a sweep along a path, if you're going to need a plane at the end of the path itself, and you're drawing a kind of awkward shaped path that doesn't necessarily land back where you want it to on your origin planes, don't worry about it. Do the path first, and then you can just use this normal to path at a point, and we can just select that and select a line, and it just gives us a plane completely dead on the end of that. So we can start our sketch here, and we can do our little circle, 6 millimeters. Just double check that. Yeah, it's definitely 6. And then our sweep. So we've got our profile. We just want the path now. So I don't think we did get our profile actually. There we go. So we've got our profile and our path. That looks good. Oops. That's silly of me. Try that again. Right. There we go. So that part's done. If there is a later part of the assignment which requires you to do a rendering of the assembled components, and you need to apply colors to them, it's a good idea to do that at this stage rather than doing it after they're assembled. I can't remember off the top of my head in this assignment if that's the case, so I'd maybe go and check that before I do the assembly. Just because you can sometimes find that when you try and apply material finishes in the assembly file, weird things happen and it doesn't always sync right. It should, but it doesn't always. So it's a better idea to always apply any material finishes or materials to your components while you've still got them here as just components, rather than waiting until you put them into an assembly. So at this stage anyway, we're ready to move on to doing the assembly. That'll be the next video in the series, so you can have a look at that when you want to.